Hey everyone. Today, we've got a remarkable story to share that's all about resilience and spiritual growth. You're going to be moved by Gabriel Thornton's near-death experience, which may just make you ponder the deeper meanings of life and what lies beyond our time here. But before we dive in, we're curious. Where are you tuning in from? Drop your city in the comments. We love connecting with our audience. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time to hit that button and ring the bell so you won't miss any of the amazing tales we bring to you. Remember what Rumi said, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." So let's embark on this enlightening journey together. So I'm Gabriel Thornton. I'm 35, and I call Alabama home with my partner, Monsignor Luciano DeMarco, and our son, Theo. Life was pretty typical for me before everything changed. I worked as an interior designer and found joy in my career. Luciano, being a lawyer, and I were both career-focused and content. Alabama has always held a special charm for me. Its landscapes and the unique energy of the area spoke to my soul. This was the backdrop of my life with Luciano. Initially, we thought we didn't want children. We felt complete as just the two of us. But as life often does, it threw us a curveball. At 33, I was shocked to find out I was expecting. It caught us off guard since we weren't the kind of couple dreaming of a large family. Yet with every passing month, I realized that this child would add a fresh dimension to our lives. So, when Theo came into the world, a little miracle, everything shifted. Suddenly, my universe centered around him, and the love I felt was unlike anything I had known before. However, with that overwhelming love came a creeping fear. I began experiencing unsettling dreams. Nightmares, really. One particularly vivid dream involved a horrific car crash that felt so real, I woke up drenched in sweat. I tried to brush off these nightmares, but they continued to haunt me. Each time I got in the car, anxiety would bubble up. It felt like a warning, but like most people, I pushed those thoughts aside and continued with life as usual. I would have never predicted that those dreams were just the beginning of a serious shift in my life, ready to unfold in the blink of an eye. Imagine a seemingly ordinary Tuesday morning that unexpectedly morphed into a profound experience, one that redefined my understanding of life, death, and everything that lies in between. It's a tale that still resonates with me, sometimes prompting me to pause and collect myself as I recollect it. I think it's crucial to relay this story because perhaps, just perhaps, it might offer a different perspective to someone else. So, if you're willing to stick with me for a moment, let's dive right into it. That day began like any other. I had just dropped off Theo at my mother's place to tackle some work-related tasks. Time slipped away from me, and in typical fashion, I was running late to fetch him. The usually serene streets of Sedona felt congested, as if everyone had decided to head out at the same moment. Behind the wheel of my minivan, I waited impatiently for a traffic light to shift while my mind raced through an endless list of obligations. You know that feeling of going on autopilot? That was me. The gentle hum of the radio filled the silence, while I tapped my fingers against the steering wheel, growing more restless by the second. Then, in an instant, everything changed. One moment, I was lost in my thoughts. The next, a thunderous crash jolted me back to reality. My gaze snapped to the road, where a massive truck careened toward me, completely out of control. The screech of its tires sliced through the air. I barely had time to react before the collision occurred. An overwhelming force that thrust my body forward and then violently back, like a rag doll. The chaos that followed, metal bending, glass shattering, was deafening. For a split second, I thought I had slipped into another of my nightmares, but the piercing pain that surged through me quickly shattered that illusion. Darkness enveloped me, though I couldn't gauge how long I had been unconscious. When I finally regained awareness, the first thing that struck me was an eerie silence. All the cacophony had vanished, leaving only stillness in its wake. I blinked, or at least I tried to, but the surroundings remained shrouded in darkness. It wasn't a terrifying blackness. It felt more like a tranquil void. Surprisingly, I felt neither pain nor fear. In fact, I was devoid of any physical sensation at all. It was then that I noticed I was floating. There was no tight grip of the seatbelt, nor the heaviness of my body pressing into the seat. It was as if I had transformed into something weightless. When I attempted to move, I realized I wasn't walking or swimming. I was gliding effortlessly, guided solely by my thoughts. Out of nowhere, the darkness started to fade away, almost like someone was gradually turning up a lamp. That's when I spotted it, my own body down below, still entangled in the wreckage of the car. I could see the paramedics rushing over, their muffled voices reaching me. "She's not breathing! We've got to get her out of here now!" It felt so strange, as though I was a spectator in a bizarre movie, rather than experiencing this nightmare myself. I wanted to scream, to reassure them that I was okay, that I was right there above, but no sound escaped my lips. That's when I sensed something start to pull at me, not in the physical sense, but more like a gentle calling. Glancing up, I noticed a brilliant light, unlike anything I had seen before. It was dazzling yet soothing to the eyes, warm and welcoming. Without fully realizing it, my being began to drift toward that radiant light. As I got closer, a profound sense of peace enveloped me. All my troubles, fears, and anxieties faded away into oblivion. I was free, no pain, no worries, just an overwhelming calmness. The light grew brighter, yet it was strange. Instead of discomfort, it felt like I was diving deeper into something beautiful. Then all of a sudden, I found myself in a completely different realm. It wasn't quite a physical space like we know on Earth, but more like an alternate dimension. Everything around me glowed softly, with colors more vibrant than I had ever witnessed before. A soothing melody filled the air, as if it flowed from everywhere and nowhere all at once. In that moment, I realized I was no longer limited by my physical body. I glanced at my hands and saw they were made of light, just like the rest of my being. I could move effortlessly, gliding in that ethereal atmosphere. As I absorbed my surroundings, I sensed a presence behind me. Turning around, I encountered a figure I could only describe as an angel. Not like the traditional angels adorned with wings and halos, but a luminous being radiating pure love. The strength of its presence was overwhelming. This angel didn't communicate through spoken words. Instead, a deep understanding passed between us, a kind of telepathy connecting us from essence to essence. "Welcome, Callista," was the first message I received, feeling reassured that I was safe. I had so many questions swirling in my mind. Where was I? What had happened to me? I had just passed on, and before I could voice any of my questions, the angel appeared to sense my bewilderment. "You're in a period of transformation," he told me. "Your physical form has endured significant trauma, but your true essence is present with us now. You have a decision to consider." A decision? Curiosity filled my mind as images began to rush by, like a fast-forwarded movie of my life. I saw every pivotal moment, every choice I made, and the impact I had on others. Little acts of kindness floated back to my memory, those small contributions I did without much thought. Then came a wave of emotion as I saw Theo, my little boy, beaming at me. I caught glimpses of Ezra, looking anxious beside my hospital bed, and my mother lost in prayer. The weight of it all struck me with a powerful force. The angel went on, "You have the option to continue your journey here, or you can return. Both paths have their own significance. The decision rests with you." I paused, letting it all wash over me, feeling a sense of peace that was beyond words. A part of me longed to remain, to bask in this light forever. But then I thought of Theo and how much he needed me. All the dreams I still had and the people I wanted to assist flickered in my mind. "I want to go back," I finally declared. The angel's expression, or at least that's how it felt to me, filled with warmth. "A courageous choice, Gabriel. Yet before you return, there's something vital I must share with you. It will shift how you perceive life and death entirely." With the angel as my guide, I embarked on a journey that would reshape my perspective. As we navigated this celestial realm, the surroundings started to morph. Suddenly, a grand structure loomed ahead, something I could only describe as a divine temple, shimmering as if crafted from crystal, glowing with its own brilliant luminescence. Its spires reached up so high that they seemed to touch the sky. "This is the Temple of Knowledge," the angel explained. "Here, souls come to gain understanding and wisdom about universal truths." As we entered the temple, I was awestruck by the sights before me. The walls appeared alive, pulsating with light and energy. There were inscriptions and symbols I had never encountered before, yet somehow I understood them instinctively. It felt as if the very essence of this knowledge was merging directly with my consciousness. As we wandered through the temple's corridors, I noticed other souls, some deep in meditation, others engaged in animated discussions. A sense of peace and ancient wisdom hung in the air, unlike anything I had ever felt before. It was Callista, the angel, who drew my attention with a gentle voice, saying, "There's someone here who wishes to see you." I turned, and in that moment, my heart, or whatever semblance of a heart I still possessed, seemed to freeze. There he stood, my grandfather. He had passed away when I was just a child, but the recognition was instant. His smile radiated warmth, and in that familiar expression, I found all the love I had cherished from him. "Grandpa," I exclaimed, rushing, or rather gliding, towards him. Our embrace was unlike any other. It wasn't physical in the usual sense, yet in that moment, it felt as though our very essences intertwined. "My dear," he said, his voice a melody echoing from my past, "you've blossomed so much. I couldn't be prouder of you." We shared stories that intertwined time, moments feeling like both mere seconds and endless hours. He spoke of his existence in the afterlife, sharing insights into what he had learned and how he continued to watch over me and the family. Eventually, I couldn't hold back. "Grandpa, can I stay here with you?" He smiled softly, almost wistfully. "You're always welcome, sweetheart, but remember, there are those who need you back home. Your journey isn't finished yet." As I surveyed the tranquil surroundings, the allure of staying forever crept in. Yet, thoughts of Theo, Ezra, and all the aspirations I had for my life brought clarity. "You're right about wanting to return," he remarked, as if he could read my very thoughts. "There's still so much love for you to give and receive. Whatever distance exists, remember, we're eternally connected." He embraced me once more, and in that moment, I felt an outpouring of his love and wisdom envelop me. "Go now, my dear, live fully, and when the time comes, we'll be here waiting for you." With tears, well, as close to tears as a spirit could have, I bid farewell to my grandfather. The angel then guided me away from this sacred space. "There's one more revelation you must witness before returning," he said, a hint of seriousness in his tone. "It will reshape your understanding of the afterlife." As we ventured further from the Temple of Knowledge, the landscape morphed dramatically. The bright, inviting light slowly dimmed, replaced by an atmosphere tinged with sorrow. Curious, I asked the angel, "What is this place?" "This," Callista replied, her voice steady and kind, "is what many refer to as hell." I was taken aback, the weight of her words hanging heavily in the air. There was nothing fiery or demonic about this place, definitely not what I had envisioned hell to be. Instead, it felt more like a somber, gray realm. Sensing my confusion, the angel beside me started to explain. Hell isn't the eternal punishment that people on earth often imagine. It's more of a temporary state, a space where souls who haven't yet awakened to their divine essence linger until they're ready to grow. As we strolled through this curious place, I noticed shadowy figures aimlessly drifting about. They didn't appear tormented, they looked more lost and bewildered. "Most souls here," the angel continued, "are just spiritually asleep. They haven't tapped into the incredible potential within them. Instead, they're caught in trails of negativity, fears, guilt, and limiting beliefs that they've created on their own." This concept was such a stark contrast to everything I had heard about hell. My mind raced with questions. "But can they escape from here?" I asked earnestly. The angel offered a warm smile and reassured me. "Absolutely. That's the very purpose of this place. It's a chance to learn and grow. When these souls find their true purpose and realize their divine nature, they begin to ascend to higher states of consciousness." I couldn't help but think of the many people on earth who lived in constant dread of hell. If only they understood. Why do some souls come here while others don't? I pondered aloud. The angel explained patiently, "It's all about consciousness. Some souls, as they leave the physical world, are already awake enough to see their true nature. Others need more time and experiences to reach that realization. It's not about judgment, it's simply different paths of evolution." As we continued our walk, I saw some souls starting to awaken, like a light igniting within them. "What's happening to them?" I asked, completely captivated. "They are waking up," said the angel. "They are beginning to recognize their true essence. Soon, they'll be ready to advance on their spiritual journey." I took a moment to absorb everything. This vision was so much more compassionate than I had ever imagined. The angel turned to me and said, "Callista, this is one of the most vital truths to carry back with you. The universe is fundamentally loving and just. There's no eternal damnation, only endless opportunities for growth and evolution." A wave of relief and gratitude flooded over me, washing away the old images of a punitive God and the notion of eternal suffering. As my time in that otherworldly place drew to a close, I found myself overwhelmed with gratitude. Each revelation had shifted my understanding of life, death, and the universe itself. I was eager to return, to share what I had learned, believing it could bring peace and comfort to others grappling with heavy beliefs about the afterlife. The angel guiding me smiled, a gentle reminder of the responsibility that accompanied this newfound understanding. "This truth is meant to be shared, but not to force anyone to change," they explained, emphasizing the message of hope and love I was to convey. My heart weighed with the significance of this mission, knowing the challenges that awaited me on Earth. Approaching the portal that would transport me back, the angel paused, addressing me directly. "Gabriel, there's something crucial you should know before you re-enter the physical realm." I braced myself, sensing that what was coming wouldn't be easy. "Returning won't be simple. Your body has gone through a lot, and reconnecting your soul with it will be a journey in itself." "What should I anticipate?" I inquired, my curiosity piqued despite the gravity of the situation. "Pain," the angel replied softly. "Not just physical pain, emotional wounds will resurface too. The things you've witnessed are beyond normal human experience, and adapting back to physical life will take time." A mixture of apprehension and determination coursed through me. "But remember," the angel continued, "you won't be alone. We're always here guiding you, even if you can't perceive us." I felt a swell of reassurance from their words. "I'm ready," I affirmed, resolved to embrace the challenges ahead. "You are stronger than you realize, Gabriel," the angel said warmly. "Take with you the love and wisdom you've encountered here, and hold on to your important purpose." Just then, I felt an undeniable force pulling me back, as if I were tumbling down a vibrant tunnel filled with light and sensations, each fleeting moment leading me home. Then, without warning, everything faded to black. The first sensation that penetrated the darkness was pain, sharp and overwhelming, reverberating through my body. I tried to blink open my eyes, but they felt impossibly heavy. Around me, I heard voices, muffled at first. Gradually, they became clearer. "She's coming back! Call the doctor!" When I finally opened my eyes, the bright lights of the hospital room hit me like a wave, and I squinted, trying to get used to it. All around me, I could see anxious faces, doctors and nurses, all buzzing with concern. And there, holding my hand, was Gabriel Thornton. His voice cracked as he spoke. "Can you hear me?" I wanted to respond, but my throat felt like sandpaper, barely allowing me to nod in acknowledgement. Days, or maybe weeks, slipped by in a haze filled with tests, medications, and doctor consultations. My body had certainly taken a hard hit from the accident. Broken ribs, head injuries, internal lacerations. A doctor mentioned that my survival was miraculous, and I couldn't help but think how little they knew. The physical recovery was nothing short of agonizing, just as the angel had warned. However, the real struggle lay in grappling with the emotional and spiritual aftermath of everything I had been through. How could I explain those experiences? How do you put something so far beyond earthly comprehension into mere words? Throughout it all, Ezra was my rock. Though he didn't fully grasp what I had encountered, and how could he? He stood by me with unwavering patience and love, supporting each step I took. And then, there was the moment I saw my son, Theo, again. It was one of the most poignant experiences of my life. When he walked into the room for the first time, his little eyes brimming with tears, he shouted, "Mommy," as he rushed to embrace me. I had to fight back tears of pain and joy mingling within me. Holding Theo close, I soaked in his warmth and the familiar scent of childhood. In that instant, I knew without a doubt that I had made the right choice by coming back. As beautiful as the other side was, nothing compared to the love I felt for my son. As days rolled on and my strength returned, I gradually began to sort through everything that had transpired. The memories of my experience were vivid, but sometimes felt like a far-off dream. There were moments I questioned whether it was real or if it had all been a trick of my mind stemming from the trauma. Yet the feelings of unconditional love and the profound truths I had received reminded me that it was all genuine, perhaps more real than anything I had ever lived. The medical staff couldn't help but admire my recovery. "You have remarkable willpower," they told me. Little did they know my true source of strength came from somewhere far beyond. One nurse, Monsignor Luciano DeMarco, seemed particularly captivated by my story. One day, when we were alone, she took a seat beside my bed and lowered her voice, clearly eager to learn more. "Callista, have you noticed anything unusual lately?" I was taken aback by the straightforwardness of the question. "Why do you ask?" I replied, a hint of curiosity in my voice. Rita paused, gathering her thoughts before sharing. "It's just that there's a different light in your eyes. I've seen this before with patients who've come back from near-death experiences. They seem transformed." A wave of gratitude washed over me as I smiled back at her, feeling the need to share my journey. "Yes, Rita, I've witnessed incredible things and come to realize that death isn't something to fear. It's merely a shift." Her eyes shimmered with tears as she shared her pain. "My mother passed away just a few months ago. I've been terrified that she's suffering." I took her hand gently and said with all the conviction I could muster, "Your mother is at peace, Rita. She's evolving, learning, and her love for you is greater than ever." Rita wept softly, repeatedly thanking me. In that moment, I understood that perhaps part of my purpose was to offer comfort and reassurance to those grappling with the fear of death or the loss of loved ones. After what felt like an eternity in the hospital, I finally came home. It was a bittersweet moment for sure. On one hand, my heart leaped with joy at being back among my family. On the other hand, I mourned the deep spiritual connection I had felt during my ordeal. Ezra had meticulously prepared our home to welcome me back, creating a true sanctuary for healing. Theo decorated the walls with heartfelt drawings, and the warmth of their love enveloped me like a soft quilt. That first night back, as I lay in my own bed gazing at the familiar ceiling, tears flowed freely. I cried from relief at being alive, from longing for the transcendent experience I had shared on the other side, and from overwhelming gratitude for my family's love. I realized that everything had changed. Nothing would return to how it was before. Sleep came to me with a sense of resolve. I knew my journey was just starting. The life I once led came to an end the moment of that accident, but here was the dawn of a new life filled with purpose and meaning. The months after my return were anything but simple. Physically, I was improving daily. The pain was easing, the bruises fading, and I was slowly regaining my mobility. But inside, my mind was a storm. During the day, I wrestled to adapt to a familiar routine, doing my best to care for Theo and pitch in around the house, while my body struggled to keep up. It was hard to even consider returning to work, especially with the memories that haunted me at night. When the silence enveloped the house, those vivid recollections would surge back, leaving me restless. Many times I jolted awake, drenched in sweat, the sensation of floating lingering, as I caught glimpses of my body below. Other nights, I dreamt of my grandfather's temple of knowledge and the souls I encountered in that realm. Waking from those dreams brought a confusing cocktail of yearning and frustration. I could almost feel the pull to revisit that place. Ezra, always attuned to my feelings, sensed something was off. One particular night, he found me weeping in the living room at 3 a.m. He took a seat beside me and gently asked, "Callista, what's troubling you? Can you share?" As I looked at him, my longtime companion, I realized how much we had changed. An invisible rift had formed between us, born from an experience he couldn't fully grasp. "I saw things, Ezra," I confessed, my voice trembling. "When I was unconscious, things that shifted everything for me. Now I don't know how to navigate this world with what I know." He regarded me, caught between concern and confusion. "What did you see? Can you explain?" Taking a deep breath, I unleashed a flood of words, recounting every detail: the light, the angel, the temple, my grandfather, and the unsettling truths about hell. As I spoke, Ezra remained quiet, his eyes widening in disbelief at times while frowning at others. When I finally fell silent, a heavy hush filled the room. After what felt like an eternity, Ezra finally said, I don't know how to respond. This is a lot." My heart sank. Naturally, how could I expect him to comprehend? How could anyone untouched by such an experience begin to grasp it? But to my surprise, Ezra took my hand and said, "While I can't fully understand what you went through, I can see that it was real for you. If it affected you this profoundly, then it's significant. I'm here for you. Let's figure this out together." Overwhelmed with relief, I found solace in his embrace. It wasn't complete understanding, but it felt like acceptance, a gentle starting point. In the days that followed, I sought help actively. I came across a therapist who focused on near-death experiences. Through our sessions, I delved deeper into my ordeal, seeking ways to incorporate those insights into daily life. I even took up meditation, trying to reconnect with that profound peace I had felt on the other side. Feeling restless and distracted was becoming too familiar. There were days that just felt tough, days when the noise of everyday worries, like bills and traffic, seemed overwhelming, especially after everything I had experienced. My newfound insights made me question how I could get bogged down by trivialities. On one of those rough mornings, in a moment of serendipity, my son Theo burst into the kitchen. With his innocent excitement, he pulled me out of my thoughts. "Mommy, look! I drew you as an angel." He held up a colorful drawing, complete with my oversized wings and a huge grin. Surrounded by hearts and stars, the simplicity of his creation hit me. Yes, I had undergone something life-changing, but I was still grounded in the roles of mother, wife, and friend. As I embraced him, feeling the warmth of his little body, I realized I had a purpose here. "It's beautiful, my love," I said, and he placed a gentle kiss on my head. "Thank you for reminding me that I'm your angel here on earth." That moment sparked a shift within me. From that day forward, I committed to finding a balance. My extraordinary experience would always be a part of my identity, but it couldn't consume me. I had a life to lead, relationships to nurture, and goals to achieve. Perhaps the real challenge was learning how to live fully in this world while keeping my understanding of the greater beyond close to my heart. It wasn't going to be easy, but I was determined. As months rolled by, I noticed a significant transformation within myself. It wasn't just a new lens through which I viewed the world, it was also about how I perceived my place in it. Those ambitions for career success and material wealth, which once felt so critical, began to lose their grip on me. They weren't entirely unimportant, but they certainly didn't seem as urgent anymore. Instead, my focus shifted toward what I had previously deemed softer pursuits, things like compassion, connection, and personal growth. I started to recognize that every interaction, each fleeting moment, could be a chance to spread a bit more light in the world. This fresh outlook influenced all areas of my life. At work, the pressure to scale the corporate ladder or impress influential clients dwindled. I found myself more invested in crafting an atmosphere where people felt genuinely good and at peace. Imagine diving into the world of healing and harmony with my designs, inspired by the profound experiences I encountered back at home. My relationships evolved in ways I never anticipated, especially with Ezra and Theo. Each moment with them became a treasure. I began to see them as not just family, but as fellow travelers on their own journeys. Conversations with Ezra transformed dramatically. He, once a skeptic, started exploring concepts of spirituality, life, and death that we'd typically shied away from. It was refreshing to witness his slow but steady openness to the possibilities I had embraced. Meanwhile, my time with Theo took on a new significance. I shifted my focus towards creating mindfully, emphasizing the importance of kindness and empathy. To my surprise, Theo seemed to grasp these ideas effortlessly, as if they were already ingrained within him. The most remarkable transformation, however, took place within me. That nagging feeling of not fitting in faded, replaced by a sense of purpose. I recognized that my return wasn't merely about living out my days, but about sharing my newfound insights. Initially, I wove these ideas into casual conversations with friends or colleagues when death and spirituality came up. I offered a different viewpoint, sharing insights that provided comfort and hope without imposing my beliefs. As time passed, I grew braver. I joined support groups for those who had experienced near-death moments or had lost someone dear. In these comforting spaces, I shared my experiences openly, the unconditional love I encountered, and the continuity of consciousness beyond physical existence. It was heartwarming to see relief on people's faces when I explained that hell wasn't a place of eternal torment, but a temporary state for learning. Many expressed their emotions, shedding fears and guilt they had carried for far too long. One particular day, an older woman approached me after one session, her eyes glistening with tears yet adorned with a warm smile. "Thank you," she said, grasping my hands tightly. "For years I feared that my son, who took his own life, was suffering in hell. Your words have set me free from that fear." In that moment, a wave of overwhelming gratitude washed over me, almost knocking me off balance. This was my mission, to illuminate the shadows and offer hope amid despair. Naturally, the journey wasn't smooth. There were those who were skeptical, even hostile toward my messages. Some friends distanced themselves, unable to cope with my shifting perspective. There were moments when I really questioned myself on this spiritual path. The burden of responsibility felt heavy, almost overwhelming at times. But then I recalled the angel's advice. "You possess a strength that surpasses your awareness, Callista." That thought reignited my determination to press on. As time went by, I took up writing about my journey. I wasn't aiming to publish a bestseller or gain guru status. It was more about collecting my thoughts and maybe leaving a little something for Theo to read when he grew older. Writing turned into a sort of meditation. It helped me delve deeper into my experiences, to articulate things that felt too profound to express. Oddly enough, it helped me tap into memories I thought I had lost or buried away. One night, while I was reflecting on the Temple of Knowledge, a memory flashed back, the angel's words that the universe is fundamentally loving and fair. It struck a chord in me, offering a fresh perspective. Even with life's trials, I came to appreciate that there's a greater purpose woven into every experience. Every joy and every heartache is part of our journey to evolve. This realization filled me with a sense of tranquility. It didn't erase the challenges, but it reframed them. Instead of viewing obstacles as punishments or unfairness, I saw them as valuable lessons, opportunities to cultivate love and compassion for myself and others. As I embraced this newfound understanding, I noticed changes in the people around me as well. Ezra, who had first been perplexed by my journey, started to truly explore spirituality. He began meditating alongside me and even enrolled in an Eastern philosophy course. And little Theo, despite his young age, seemed to soak up everything I shared. He transformed into such an empathic soul, always eager to lend a helping hand. One day, he excitedly told me about comforting a classmate whose grandfather had passed away, saying, "Mom, I told him his grandfather is in a beautiful place now, just like I had taught him." At first, my parents were doubtful and worried about my shift in perspective, but gradually they softened. My mother especially found solace in my insights when her sister passed away. The reassurance that her sister was okay, continuing her journey, seemed to ease her heart. One day, while we were at work, it struck me how much of an impact my new take on interior design was making. With tears in her eyes, she shared how everything I was creating truly made a difference. Clients frequently expressed how serene they felt in the spaces I designed, with one even telling me that a particular room I put together seemed to radiate healing energy. She had no idea just how spot on she was. But let's be real, it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were tough days when I felt the burden of what I knew weighing heavily on me. The desire for that peace and unconditional love I had once experienced felt so intense during those moments. So, I would find my quiet space and meditate, hoping to reconnect with that elevated state of being. It was during one of those meditative sessions that a significant realization hit me. I understood that my journey was more than sharing my insights. It was essential for me to keep learning and growing while I was here. I found that life wasn't merely a waiting room for a return to that blissful place, but rather a golden opportunity for development and service to others. Eager to expand my knowledge, I dove into books covering near-death experiences, spirituality, and various Eastern philosophies. I attended workshops and retreats, and with every new insight, my understanding broadened and felt increasingly aligned with my experiences. Then, out of the blue, I got an invitation to speak at a conference focused on consciousness and spirituality. At first, I hesitated. I thought, who am I to talk about this? I'm just someone who's had a unique journey. But then I remembered the words I had heard from the angel. You have an important purpose to fulfill. With encouragement from Ezra and the enthusiastic support from Theo, I decided to go for it. My mission was clear, to share my message about heaven. I prepared diligently, organizing my thoughts and meditating to settle my nerves. When the day arrived and I stepped onto the stage, looking out at the audience filled me with overwhelming warmth and gratitude. There were hundreds of faces, each on their own spiritual quest, seeking answers. Taking a deep breath, I began to share my story with sincerity. The reaction was beyond what I had hoped. Laughter, tears, and a standing ovation followed. Many approached me afterward, expressing how my words had shifted their perspectives, bringing hope where there had previously been fear and uncertainty. That night, as I returned home, I felt an immense sense of fulfillment wash over me. I had clearly discovered my calling, to act as a bridge between realms, bringing forth the light and love I had encountered. Lying in bed that night with Ezra quietly sleeping beside me, I couldn't help but think about how my life had transformed since that fateful accident. So many changes, challenges, and discoveries had come my way, yet it felt like I was just starting out on this incredible journey. Gazing out at the starry Alabama sky that stretched endlessly above, I smiled as thoughts danced in my mind. The universe is truly a vast and mysterious place, and here I am, a small piece of it, contributing by sharing a little more light and love with the world. As I drifted off to sleep, I felt a profound sense of peace and purpose wash over me. I was thankful for every single moment of this extraordinary path called life. Days turned into months, which ultimately turned into years, and I began to notice that the ripple effects of my experiences reached far beyond just me and my immediate family. The story I carried, along with the truths I dared to share, started to resonate throughout the Charleston community and even beyond. Charleston, known for its spiritual allure, has always attracted souls in search of deeper meaning. As it turned out, I became somewhat of a focal point for those pondering the afterlife and the purpose behind our existence. Invitations started pouring in for me to speak at local churches, holistic centers, and schools. At first, I hesitated. The thought of being viewed as a guru or some kind of spiritual figure made me uneasy. After all, I was simply a person who had gone through something extraordinary and was trying to grasp its meaning, just like anyone else. But then, I recalled the angel's message about fulfilling a purpose. I came to understand that sharing my journey wasn't about elevating myself above others. It was about providing hope and a fresh perspective to those who were searching for answers. During one of my talks at a local church, I discussed my belief that hell is a temporary state of learning rather than a place of eternal torment. Afterward, a man approached me, tears streaming down his face. He confided that he had lost his son to suicide years earlier, and the weight of guilt and fear of his son's suffering haunted him. "Your words have set me free," he said, grasping my hands tightly. "For the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe again. Thank you for giving me hope." It was in moments like these that I realized how powerful a shift in perspective can be. I wasn't merely sharing a story. I was providing a new lens through which people could see both life and death more clearly. As time went on, I began to organize support groups for those with near-death experiences or individuals mourning the loss of loved ones. These gatherings quickly became a refuge, a safe haven for sharing stories, fears, and aspirations, filling my heart with a sense of connection and purpose. Filled with appreciation and a sense of direction, I stepped through the door, prepared for another day in this remarkable adventure called life. It's a life transformed, ever more profound, vibrant, and imbued with meaning, thanks to a brush with death that opened my eyes to the depths I never thought possible.